What's the first thing you think of when you hear the word plastics? Do you think about all the amazing capabilities it has to offer? Or do you think about how it's slowly destroying our natural environment? For me, I tend to think of the latter, but I know that many of you may not, which is why I'm here to influence you to think about the other side. According to Matthew Stanislaus of the World Resources Institute, more than 8 million tons of plastic gets dumped into the ocean every single year, which has created a landmass twice the size of Texas off the Pacific coast. And this is really concerning. I mean, imagine you were walking on a beach, expecting to see the crashing waves and the beautiful white sands, but instead only seeing pollution and struggling wildlife. I personally have always been an animal lover and someone who loves to be in the natural environment around me, which is maybe why I'm so upset by the way plastic pollution is affecting our world. Hearing about the turtles mistaking plastic bags for jellyfish, the whales washing up on beaches with stomachs filled with litter, and plenty of other life forms being hurt because of the pollution certainly makes at least my heart ache, as I would hope it would for others. More recently, I visited a couple of countries which have started implementing various plastic bans, which it has inspired me to conduct more research and to advocate strongly for this issue within our own country. You might be wondering how this would even affect you as a high school student, but if you really think about it, plastics play a huge role in our everyday lives, from straws and cups at fast food restaurants to food packaging in plastic bags at grocery stores. Now, some of you may disagree with the idea of a single-use plastic ban within the United States because of how you might think it affects the economy, how alternatives could be potentially harmful, not to mention recycling is a thing, or even that you might think that it creates an illusion of a fully solved problem. However, I invite all of you here today to consider the positive effects a single-use plastic ban could be nationwide in our country, no matter your current standpoint on the debate. First off, an immediate thought that comes to many people's minds is how an idea as far-reaching as this would affect our economy. Some concerns are how bans could create an inconvenience for consumers, plastic manufacturers could be significantly hurt, and companies that benefit from plastic use, including those that make products out of recycled plastic, could also suffer damages. For one, we could slowly introduce banning of products so that consumers barely even notice a change. Think of how technology was slowly implemented in schools until most of our work became digital and there were little complaints. The United States could create a plan similar to that of China's recent movement, where various plastics are banned each year. It's almost like a step-by-step process, as described in Trevor Nace's Forbes magazine article. And while yes, it is likely many plastic manufacturers could go out of business, and this could cause a slight dip in our overall country's economy, companies who make plastic alternative products will take over this area of business, allowing for much of the economic problems to be instantly solved. Along similar lines, existing companies that benefit from using single-use plastics currently can start using alternative solutions within their company in order to keep up with the bans and to stay in business. Some companies are already taking these sorts of steps on their own, with Starbucks getting rid of their plastic straws, Kroger encouraging people to use reusable bags, and PepsiCo planning to put their water in aluminum cans instead of the usual plastic bottles. There is always, of course, a learning curve with any new idea being put into action, but these plastic bans could easily just be the next new thing. Another reason you might question these plans is due to the harmfulness of certain plastic alternatives. Paper products, which are usually the most common alternative to many single-use plastics, can quickly fill up landfills due to them being unable to get proper airflow to be biodegradable. And reusable plastic bags cause more carbon dioxide emissions during the manufacturing process and would thus need many more uses for them to be better for the environment than the normal single-use plastic bag. However, there are plenty of other, more environmentally friendly alternatives to many plastic products, such as metal for things like straws, cups, and cutlery, and synthetic polyester for the reusable bags. So there actually are alternatives that can be less harmful than plastics. In addition to this, you might be wondering, why do we even need bans? Can't we just recycle instead? And while this is good in theory, it fails in practice. Stanislaus, the same renowned researcher from earlier, estimates that only 9% of plastics are actually recycled globally. This is not nearly enough to be significantly helpful in preventing plastic pollution. Not only this, but even with this small amount of plastic actually being recycled, a lot of times this process of recycling can be very difficult and expensive. As an example, Jennifer Kauflis from the Wall Street Journal writes that plastic bags can jam up recycling machines, causing many more problems than what it is worth. So while recycling may seem like the better option, bans may really be what is most efficient. Finally, many have concerns that plastic bans could create an illusion that all of the world's environmental health issues are solved, when they may still be far from that. Plastic pollution is really only one problem that the Earth is currently facing, and some fear that bans such as these would cause people to pay less attention to other pressing issues, or even to forget about them altogether. And while this may turn out to be true, if we do not do anything to try and fix this issue now, it will just keep growing and growing until it becomes too out of control to change. As Stanislaus skillfully states, the main point, frankly, is to communicate to policymakers, the public, and to the industry that we've got to do something serious to reduce the issue. And if you can't figure out how to do it, we're going to start banning your products one at a time. We have to start somewhere, and a single-use plastic ban is a stepping stone to get us closer towards our goal of bettering the planet. After all that you've heard from me today, I want everyone to think very carefully and come to their own conclusions as to whether or not these plastic bans should be put in place. And if you still need further encouragement, think back to that earlier imagined beach. Now, because of these bans, you no longer see a polluted, ruined landscape filled with dying animals, but get to see an area shining with beauty and life. For the sake of our world's environmental health, for the sake of the wildlife living all around us, and for the sake of our own future lives, I urge all of you to strongly consider fighting for these single-use plastic bans. Thank you.